Welcome to the Troponin episodes special edition. We were just thinking about what to call this episode. We have one of the OG Troponin nutritionists outside of Justin, Joe Miller, with us tonight. Friendly reminder, if you are enjoying these episodes, remember you can like, subscribe, turn on notifications, leave us a comment. Reminder that if you tell us if you're team nut butter or team guac for added fat, one of those is the correct answer. The rest of you are plebeians. We want to kick this off a little bit. Just, Joe, can you give us kind of a quick rundown on how you met Justin?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a quick version of that, but I'm glad that I'm glad that I'm the special one. You know, I'm the one that makes this special.
Like, it's just like back in high school, special classes, right?
So
was he the crane eater? Which one of you was the crane eater?
Huh? Joe wore a football helmet in school. Let's just say that he
only we didn't go to the same school, but
yeah.
So I actually I'm this is going to be the long version, but I'll do my best. I met Justin in World Gym. Him and his wife just moved to the area, and I was a trainer there. And he said, "Hey man, what do you think about me working here?" And I told him, I said, "Listen, I'm not territorial. I know it's going to sound like I don't want another trainer to work here, but I was in the process of leaving. I'm like, you do not want to work here. Like, you have a family. Like, it's not good."
I remember that owner. Yeah, I remember that owner.
Yep. And so, anyways, they went out of business a couple months later. So he took my word for it, and we started training together. And we ended up working at a nightclub, like a security company.
Base.
Short along. Need a lot of staffing, so
the number one nightclub in Michigan for like 3 years in a row. There was a 300-pound dominatrix walking around, little people walking around, 6'6" transvestites. Go ahead.
All the stories about Justin as a bouncer. Joe, did you technically get him started in his bouncing career?
Secondary. He was in college a bouncer, but all the massive people that were at that World Gym, because it was just a lot of giant human beings were there. And they needed people. So I was like, hey, come on down. So yeah, Justin, I suckered him into coming down with him, but he's not kidding. It was a Vegas style nightclub in Detroit called Space Nightclub. They had a 300-pound dominatrix. She was like 70 years old. Her name was Brutal Betty. And, a bunch of, little people that were dressed up, and they would swing from the ceilings and stuff. And I'm not making this up. I had nothing. It's not a joke. This isn't a dig at any classification of people. It literally is what they were doing for entertainment. And fire breathers and all kinds of craziness.
Yeah, so it was wild.
Yeah. A nice calm night in Detroit.
I was going to say, so you guys fit right in, obviously.
Oh, yeah. They couldn't tell.
Well, have you ever seen...
They couldn't tell whether we were the entertainment or employees. I mean, because, we did not fit in.
Well, and have you ever seen 8 Mile, where Eminem goes to St. Andrews Hall? So those of you who aren't from Detroit, like that is a real place, and our building was right next to that. So if you give you a context, is kind of the area that we were in.
Wow,
it's a really safe area. So
yeah, definitely.
I wouldn't drive there, let alone how I used to stand out in the street there until 3.
Oh yeah, right outside, wide
just
open.
Moron.
Duncan gunfire.
Yep, gunfire, tear gas, you name it. We saw it all and just laughed about it because we were idiots. So yeah, and then Justin was coaching, just started coaching people around that time. Kept telling me to start my own business, do my own thing, and I was too lazy. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I was like, but how about I just coach with you? And so he helped me with my show and a few of my friends with competing. And I was a OG on the Troponin Nutrition with him, was one of the coaches.
Remember Protege Nutrition? The original.
Yeah, that's right.
It was Troponin Nutrition and Protege Nutrition for a very short period of time. And it was just Joe and Nate Wolf. Nate Wolf, who
is that who it was? That's right.
He was Jay Cutler's training partner from about probably 2005 to 2008. So he was always in the magazines as his partner. But yeah, and he's still Wolfpack Nutrition. He still does a little. Actually, Natalie Ray Wolf is Nate Wolf's wife.
She killed it this year.
Yeah, and so So Joe was pre-Shelby, before Shelby was a nutritionist with Troponin Nutrition.
So can we officially say that Joe was like the OG?
Yes, I think he was very first one. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, in Steve Kuklo, if you remember, I was at Roshore Gym, and this 15-year-old with these watermelon shoulders, biceps, and calves comes walking up and says, "I'm thinking about getting into bodybuilding." I'm like, first off, like, what do you do for your calves? He's like, what do you mean? What do I do for my calves? Like, how do you train what are your calves? Turns out he's a hockey player and just had these like massive calves. And he's like, I want to get into bodybuilding because I competed as a teen before I met Justin and obviously did just did crappy because I did Dan Duchesne's Body Opus was like my prep for it. I almost killed myself like that. Anyways, whole nother story. I can go off on a tangent, but so started talking to him about it, and somehow they met up, and obviously everyone knows the story of that with Steve and his career and kind of how he was training with them, and or Justin was helping him out at the start, and then the three of us.
Yeah, Joe was actually Joe Project Super Heavyweight. Joe was the third workout partner at that time, but he had just taken a corporate job with Lifetime Fitness. And we trained in the morning, and just literally like weeks before we filmed Project Super Heavyweight, Joe stopped being able to train with us in the morning.
Oh man!
I would be a big star right now. You see, I just blew my chance.
The legendary. How many days or how much? It was 36 hours or something.
36 hours. We did 2 full weeks of workouts.
Yep. I remember there's a clip where it says Justin actually cramped. This is a real thing, and you're.
Oh yeah, I almost died. Yeah, my whole body seized up. It wasn't like a cramp. It was my whole body. It was tetanus.
Great.
Yeah. So that was, gosh, I'm trying to remember too. Like you competed, you won the Capital City, and then you won the Michigan. And then the following year I did the Capital City and did the Michigan. I didn't do so well in Michigan, but I will say my claim to fame is, I think I was like 21 years old, is I always like to lead with, there were 2 blind judges, because the reason why I say that is out of the 5 judges, 2 had me ahead of Steve Kuklo. So that's my claim to fame, is like at one point I had 2 votes above him, which they were blind. That's probably why. So, but he ended up edging me out for, I think it was like 4th or 5th place or something. Again, he was, 18, I was 20 or 21. So he went on to win one of those shows the next year or 2 years later or something like that. So, yeah, it was good times back then. And then, gosh, it was a while ago, but little bit of a gap there, kind of stayed in touch a little bit, but then about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we kind of reconnected, started chatting online and stuff, and talked about possibly doing a business together. I was in the medical field for a while. We were trying to do something together there, and at the time, it didn't work out at that moment, but just recently had a chance to partner up with First Detachment and kind of get back involved with all the Troponin umbrella of services, if you will, and excited to kind of, as we move forward with First Detachment together now, and then we have other big plans to continue to expand all things Troponin related, and looking at the medical field in late 2023, early 2024 again. We just think there's a lot of opportunity to serve people out there with good quality information, a great product done by just honest, good people who are just looking to have something superior out there and transparent to help people get to their goals and just live that optimal lifestyle that they're striving for.
It's cool to hear you talk about it from the standpoint of wanting to serve people with good information. I think that right now there are a lot of places and a lot of companies that are really out, quite frankly, just to make a quick buck or to be a flash in the pan and milk that period of time, and then know that when and if things die off, at least they're taken care of, even if they haven't necessarily left other people in a good place. Can you tell us a little bit about how you see First Detachment and kind of segueing into the Troponin umbrella moving forward into that? Like, what does that look like a little bit?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing, obviously, as I mentioned, right, like we've been close friends for, known each other for 20 years, competed together, grinded the whole deal, watched him starting Troponin Nutrition from a little card table, fold-up table in his living room in a tiny little apartment. I know because I think I was in the same apartment 2 years later after he moved out of it. It was like $350 a month, just like complete dump.
Right outside of Detroit. Just what is it? Was that the Hall Road one or the? Yeah,
the Hall Road one. Gosh, what's it called? It'll come to me later. But to answer your question, of course I wanted to do something, with Justin again. But when I looked at the ingredients in the products and the pricing structure as well, like that speaks for itself. Like not only the videos and the explanation, but also there's a lot of companies that there are some other good companies out there. Like, let's call it what it is. There are good products out there, but there are also a lot too that have different things like fillers or maybe not the most bioavailable product because it's cheaper and things. And I just found that was like truly Justin made him for his, what he would want in it. And like, just as an example, right? So I was teasing the other day, we had a bunch of us were on a group chat, and I said, I ran out of my field rations. So I had the OG field rations. Cause back in the day, Justin would have, like, we had sodium I think back then it was Waxy Maze. We used to put Gatorade too. And sometimes because I have the fat gene, I would put like sugar-free Kool-Aid in mine. But we had mixed that and some BCAAs and amino acids, and then sometimes I'd put like a little creatine and just like shake that, and that was like our during workout like drink. So I like sent a picture of that and said, this is the OG formulation of field rations. Then 20 years later, you can see we're selling through that, and it's a great quality, a lot better than what it was 20 years ago, but it did a lot of great things.
This is kind of maybe a slightly off-topic question. For as long as you guys have known each other, and as long as you guys have been in the business, have there been any coaches that are now kind of big names that maybe you got in a little bit of beef with on forums, or that were other Troponin coaches at some point?
Well, I don't know about beef so much, but Shelby Starnes, a very well-known coach, got started as a Troponin nutritionist, and he was with me for several years. And he was, I think, when Joe left Troponin for Lifetime, that's where Shelby came on. And I don't remember. Were you the one who recommended Shelby? I don't remember how did you meet?
Well, yeah. So what happened was he was at that Royal Oak gym. It was like. It's not called not Weight Station, Weight World, or I don't know. It was like a more powerlifting gym, and he's found you online. He met us in a Powerhouse. We went into like the little side studio where anyone who's not a bodybuilder is like, what are those big dudes doing there? It's creepy, But it's like, no, they're just posing. Like it's totally normal for us, right? And I remember he was like kind of showing Justin his physique, and the one thing I did, which I appreciate Justin, because I was like young and immature, but Shelby said when he left, he's like, okay, well, I'll think about hiring you as a coach. So me, being his homeboy, like I went online on the discussion board, was like, yeah, I met this guy at Powerhouse. I don't know who the hell he thinks he is. Like says he's going to think about it. Yeah. Nice one, dummy. Or something. I don't know. I've said something stupid. Justin like private messaged me like, dude, please take that down. Like, it's a potential client, man. I'm like, all right, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, Shelby came in, gosh, he was like a lightweight or something.
He was like 145 pounds.
Yeah. He's a really little guy at that time. And then when I got to know, just kind of later when I left, actually, I was working primarily with a lot of local guys, like trying to qualify and stuff. And so it just got crazy busy for me in the kind of corporate world. So I handed my clients off to Shelby. I think was he on Protege Nutrition? Was he at that
I can't remember, because we didn't keep Protege that long. It got too confusing, basically having two websites. So we just kind of merged it into just Troponin Nutrition. I don't remember when, but it's on the Wayback Machine. Every once in a while, I'll go back and look at the Internet Archives, and you can see Protege Nutrition, and you can see the original Troponin Nutritions. They're hilarious. And there's you probably don't remember Real Men Wear Beards website too.
Yep, I do.
we made a website. Yeah, no one had beards. You remember, like no one had beards in the 2000s. And I can't remember why we were goofing around and saying that beards were going to be the next thing. We're saying like everyone's going to, for some reason we just felt like beards were going to be the thing. Like in the 70s, guys had beards, and then no one did forever. So we made this like just a total goofball website about this guy named Beardo, and it was just completely stupid, and it just as fun. We should have kept it up, because sure enough, like several years later, like now everyone has beards. And we were first on the beard train. We were going to sell shirts and stuff, but we just kind of gave up on it. But that's on the Wayback Machine also.
Beardo is wearing a tie-dye wolf howling at the moon shirt. Is what I want.
Probably, yeah. No, I remember. Yeah, I remember it used to crack me up that we just made. It was just a dumb goofball site. We were probably the only people who ever looked at it, but it always cracked me up.
I do want to say this though. I used to I just thinking about it too. One of the great things about training with Justin, other than the fact that it was like 5:15 in the morning that I had to meet him because he had work or whatever and kids and everything and starting a family, he would sit there and talk about deep exercise phys, like the molecular structure and the process and the pathway of everything. I literally aced graduate level classes as like a sophomore in college at Wayne State. Like it was, the professors were like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I just like to talk about this stuff. I just like to read about it. I just kind of have one of those interesting memories where I could just remember every little thing. Like, well, this links to this, which goes, you guys have probably seen him on his videos explaining it, but that was like in between sets of squats. Like I was here, he's talking about that stuff.
You said 5:15 a.m. Those were hard times. You look back at like the tough times when you were younger. So we didn't have anything. My wife was in school. She was going. She wasn't yet in dental school. She was still in undergrad. We were young, and so I had to make all the money for us. And so we would train at 5:15. So like this is prepping for shows. We train at 5:15. Then I'd go right to work as an exercise physiologist. Leave work, go right to cardio. Leave cardio and go right to space. And then if there was a fight at space and we had to give a police report, which was pretty often, I mean, just about every weekend, I wouldn't get home till 5:15. So they'd be 24-hour days. Those were brutal times in prep. 24-hour days. I still have sympathy.
By the end of prep, when you're not sleeping, you're like, great, my time is
Yeah,
occupied.
might as well. But I remember there were times I'd be so tired, I'd fall asleep standing up at space.
Yeah.
And I remember I found a stairwell, that upstairs little bar area that was like a quieter area.
I know that stairwell.
There was a back door in this like dusty old stairwell. You could kind of sneak in and like lean against the wall and sleep for like 10 minutes. And we'd tell each other like, dude, I can't make it another minute. Can you come and get me in 20 minutes, please? And then we'd zonk out. I mean, it would be like you'd close your eyes and be out in a second. Man, those are tired times.
I was going to ask if the activity level made prep easier because you didn't focus on how hungry you are, but it sounds like it did not make it easier.
I can't. It may have, honestly, because you didn't have a choice. There was always stuff going on. It was busy. It was just tired. I just remember being I remember tired all the time. I can still remember that feeling of being like 3 a.m. You've been up since 4:45. You've trained twice. You worked a full day. And someone might have, at any minute, some group of people are going to get in a fight, in a gang fight or something. Oh, man. But, the great memories now, looking back, but at the time.
Yeah, I will say when I was telling my wife about Justin, there was, and then I'll tell a story to articulate it, but I said, she I'm kind of like a grinder, so she's just like, I'm like, no, seriously, like, we want to do this. I'm like, Justin is the only person I've met that has outworked me. And she's just like, I didn't know it was possible. I said, okay, let me give you an example. So when we were prepping, because we were that busy, like you were half awake zombie and you're packing your bag and your food. And so I would have half cooked stuff. I mean, it was nasty, some of the food in there. So I'm like talking about it at the gym, like, yeah, I still got it down, but I was like, it was nasty. He ate a potato like an apple prepping for a show. I don't know if you made that up or if you actually did it, but I believe that you did.
I think so. I don't think we even cooked them sometimes. I think just ate
No,
them.
you didn't. It's gross. So
that really hard to digest. Like, isn't there some process that?
It was terrible. It was like a turnip. It would be like a turnip. But yeah, it would. Well, you just you forget. There was no time to forget. You get.
Nope.
You get home. It's been a 24-hour day. You get home. It's 4 a.m. You're like, you just gave a police report. You don't even know what's going on. Remember, Tony McGinnis would drive us home because we would take all.
Our buddy who wasn't prepping always drove us.
Yeah, because there's no way we'd still be awake. Yeah, and so we'd if there wasn't food prepped and there was no other choice. And back then, that was like, I would have died. I would have ate poison for bodybuilding. Back then it was, I was in that mindset. I would have did whatever it took. And yeah, I mean, probably, I'm sure it was just like my GI distress was off the charts, but
I remember walking outside with my coat off in the middle of the freezing cold during lunch, like walk and eat at the same time, just so you can metabolize more fat.
Yeah.
FYI, we've got maybe 5 or 6 minutes before Justin's internet tells us cooking for a sec.
Wonderful.
I feel like I just stopped a good time. Sorry, dudes. So what is it like now, I guess 20 years later, being in business together? Because this is like, just seeing you guys interact, it's funny, I was at the compound last weekend and seeing the way that Juju Mufu filled Dave Tate's cup. It was really, really special. And Joe, just seeing you and Justin interact, I can see Justin's cup being filled, and I don't know that I've seen that with many people. So what is it like actually getting to be in business and grow this thing together?
Well, I'll speak. I mean, we complement each other very well. There are certain things that I have weaknesses. The problem is, when I was talking, with Thomas Lackey, one of my nutritionists now, there's a knowledge level as a coach where having knowledge above that level doesn't really improve your ability as a coach. And then, unfortunately, the knowledge level is pretty low. The bar is actually pretty low. And beyond that, you need things like organization, focused work. Yeah, systems, and those are things that I'm just not naturally good at. And like this, our little team, our little crew, this little gym at 16 in Gratiot, Powerhouse Gym in Detroit, Michigan. This little hole in the wall gym. We had Brian Pedziers, who eventually turned pro. Karen Zaremba turned pro as figure. Tim Hensley is a world record holding power lifter. Me, Steve Kuklo, Joe. But Steve Kuklo, Joe, and I, we were just kids. Steve was 18, Joe was 19 or 20, I was 22 maybe. I mean, we were children, and just like three kids, just hungry, and it's it's fun. We've all kind of stayed in loose contact over the years, but to see all of us that came from nothing, just small town, not Detroit small town, but we came from like Metro Detroit, the peripheral small little towns, where no one. Like the street I lived on, Williamson, just off 14 in Gratiot, is after the financial crisis of 2008. Every single home on the street was foreclosed. They're all boarded up. I mean, we just came from areas of nothing. Roseville is like a town in Detroit, out north of Detroit, that's just not known for producing, producing much, unfortunately. And it's just really cool. Like the three of us have all, 20 years later, have built success in the industry from this tiny little gym, in Metro Detroit, where like nothing ever grows, basically. But we definitely complement each other very well. Joe's very organized. Very like C-suite corporate stuff that I'm not good at. He's on the ball with.
Yeah, and I would say just on the other end, to Justin's point, as far as the creative, the formulations of things, I like to think I'm a pretty smart guy with that stuff, but it doesn't even. I mean, he's forgot more than I know, and I again, it's not like I've stopped learning over the last 20 plus years, and so. I think that to his point, like that really helps tie it together. And I just over the years, I think it's athletics and working with teams of people in the corporate world. I just kind of naturally came to me about how to, bring people together and help put them in the right spots. That's something that I just, at this point in my life, I've realized that I'm pretty good at. And so the team we've built between marketing folks, people that are handling our manufacturing, and quality control, people that are, now turning the page into affiliates and athletes we're going to bring on. Like it's all, something that we want to focus a lot of time on. And we just take that approach of, rising tide kind of raises all ships. That's like one of the things that's always stuck out to me as far as like teamwork. And that's the way we view it. That's the way, like with our affiliates and athletes, we want to, treat them, give them opportunities to grow their, as I like to say, like grow their NIL value, as well as, it's going to grow our brand and just, also just helping the people out there who are trying to accomplish their goals. So talking about, field rations, it was actually interesting because I think it's a great product for bodybuilders. Like I was talking about earlier, it was Justin had me making the OG version of it where I was mixing everything and, back then pissing off my mom because I was a teenager, like leaving crap all over the counter and not wiping off after myself and wondering why I was always getting yelled at. It was Justin's fault, but now it's all combined into one product. And actually just the other day, like I I worked in the medical field for quite a few years. So a lot of our products I see that can actually help, the just general like fitness goer as well. I mean, it's definitely a hardcore product line for like serious athletes, but I think there's a lot of crossover there. And so the reason why I bring it up is I was in the gym, he's probably late 40s, early 50s. And, I was having a good workout and he just came up and was like, "Hey, what are you drinking?" And so I started to tell him about it, but he just said, "I'm just always so flat and just like dead." He's, it was early in the morning, we're in there, and he just said like, he just doesn't have time to eat and just, working all these hours, family, all that stuff. So, I just started talking about like the benefits of field ration to kind of help fuel that drop off like halfway through the workout. So, I just think that's a pretty cool part for me. Obviously, Justin with his connections, and things. I certainly have competed in powerlifting, strongman, bodybuilding. Yes, I even tried triathlon, which was a disaster. So we won't talk about that too much. May or may not have ran a few 10Ks if you want to call it running them, but I see a lot of opportunity for our products and like to take the knowledge and the valuable ingredients and how Justin formulates them together to still support the physique and lifting athletes, but also to kind of help that next wave or one or two waves outside of that, of like similar to how like Nike, right? Like was like first for runners, and then it's like professional athletes. And then it kind of went out to like the Blackberry way of putting it, like the wannabe professional athlete, like the person who wants to train hard and do that. I think a lot of our products currently can support other people. And I think in the future, as we, continue to add and expand the brand as a whole and the offering, we can reach and help more people, which is really exciting for me as well.
And speaking of runners, that's the running nutritional world is so bad. They do those gel packs and the Cliff Bars and stuff, and which are terrible because they're basically like sugar balls or sugar gels, which is the exact opposite of what you want. Because what you do not want when you're exerting exercise is insulin secretion. Insulin's a central nervous system depressant, and those things are like a jelly ball, like a gelatinous ball of pure sugar. And for one, it goes in your stomach. There's nothing, the osmolarity of it is similar to that of blood, so there's nothing to get it through your stomach. So it just hits your stomach, and water starts slowly pooling in your stomach. You get bloated. Eventually, it gets to the small intestine, and then you basically just have this ball of sugar, this gloop of sugar that goes right in the bloodstream, spikes insulin, which makes you feel groggy. And the worst thing you can do when you're running, and something like a field rations with a high molecular weight carbohydrate, will supply will get glucose into the bloodstream sooner and supply glucose to the bloodstream longer and keep blood sugar levels more stable without the insulin spike. For years, because my wife was a runner, I've always kind of thought about branching out in the supplement world and in the running world. And I think maybe at some point we'll try to get there. But yeah, there's so much in that area.
Tactical would be cool. I trained for a half Ironman while I was also doing powerlifting. Was kind of using the half iron to try to cover a figure show. It was a great opportunity to learn what not to do. But there was so much to learn from it, and I actually loved the training. And trying to time the heavy squats, knowing that you were squatting heavy and you need to do quite a bit of sprint work and also like the long, slow work, just from the different energy system standpoint, from the performance standpoint, was fascinating to me. But coming off of looking at the micro of the week and trying to figure out how to use whatever supplements I could to get through those longer rides or runs, or even like the bricks where you're doing both. I don't want to talk about swimming. That was just a hell in a handbasket. But I think there's so much potential for, the science. And people kind of think about bodybuilding and the physique sports as so different from so many of the other endurance-based sports. And they definitely are from the energy systems and the physiology standpoint. But the physiology is also the same in that we still require the same types of nutrients in order to continue churning that gear system.
Yep. No, there's stuff right now, right? Like in the 70s that was being done in bodybuilding that was, late 90s was proven in research. And then now the early 2000s, stuff that's being proven now. And, a lot of research based was on the bigger markets, right? Like endurance or like military. And now you're starting to see like stuff that people were talking about 20, 30 years ago in our industry. It's coming to fruition. And I think there is a gap there that we can fill and serve a greater population with just a better product. And it's going to be around the same price and give them much better results and better health outcomes.
Yeah, it's not like it has to be, just for the super, super serious, competitive IFBB Pro. I think it's probably even more applicable to those that are trying to get in at 5 a.m. and they haven't had a chance to get a meal.
Yeah.
They want a decent session.
If your nutrition is 100% on point like a bodybuilder should be, it's probably, like you said, a little less important than someone who skips meals all the time. Then the intra-workout nutrition becomes really important. Kind of like in prep when you're hypocaloric, then that stuff really makes a difference.
Yeah.
Well, it makes me think of the analogy of, the same shoes Michael Jordan wore, like the backyard basketball player was wearing them. Like, why would that be any different in our industry? Why not have great quality supplements and products to help people? Just because they're not an IFBB Pro doesn't mean it's not going to help them. And they should have the same, great education to understand it and the same access to it.
So we had to pause the recording for a moment just to let our internet catch up. And while the four of us were sitting here talking, Dave and I didn't get to hear the whole story, but Justin and Joe had one of those moments talking about old supplements. And the line that Justin said was, "Oh, was that thing I did at your house on New Year's?" And Dave and I kind of looked at each other like, "We need to hear about this one. Can you fill us in a little bit?"
I think I should set up first. I think you can get into the science in a minute, but I invited people over, and Justin and my buddy Tony were some of the early ones to be there. So, whenever everyone else comes to the party, like the more you want there, right, to look like there's more people and it's like the happening place to be. So I'll let him fill in the blanks, but they had to leave early, and I'll kind of explain to him as he was sampling some new products or some new supplements back then.
Trying to make a real potent pre-workout energy product. And there's a product called propylhexadrine, which is also chemically named hydromethamphetamine. That's not scheduled. That's it's actually in like Benzodiazepine inhalers. Because it's a a vasoconstrictor, so it'll it's similar like why ephedrine is a cold medication. This is a similar thing. It's not for ingested; you breathe in the fumes of it basically. But we've talked before, like a salt. All salt means in chemistry is that a positive and negative ion combine to form a salt, and that's like amphetamine salts. You can make salts like that by doing an acid extraction. So if you take like a muric acid or even lemon juice into a product that contains like a propylhexadrine, you can do an acid extraction and make a propylhexadrine salt, which will then extract out, and then you let it dehydrate, and you'll be left with just the salts, the amphetamine salt, basically. I mean, in this case, the hydromethamphetamine salt. Well, that, and I think because it was legal. Now it's not legal. Now they named it not legal for human consumption right around the same time. So I wasn't able to ever produce a product like this, but we combined it with phenylpiracetam, and so this one piracetams were all legal too, and they that was all the rage of the nootropics or nootropic, or however you want to call it. And well, piracetam was a great nootropic. If anyone knows like about chemistry, like phenylethylamine, that's the base structure for amphetamines. And in general, if you had a phenyl group to things, you kind of get like a more of a stimulatory effect from the compound. I mean, not always, but that's like a common thing. And so phenylpiracetam is basically a phenyl group onto piracetam, which is like a mental stimulant at that point. And this product was sold in Russia actually as a type of mental stimulant. And so I combined propylhexadrine or hydromethamphetamine with the phenylpiracetam, and I think there was a third ingredient. Probably caffeine or something. I don't know, but I mean, I think Dave Tate will talk about this too, because he got a sample of it also. If we got to ask Dave Tate about it.
Yeah, we do.
And I think Dave might have combined it with like a Vicodin or something. And he called me like mid-workout.
Sounds like something Dave would do.
He called me mid-workout like, oh my God. He said, I'm 90% sure I'm going to have to go to the hospital for a heart attack, but I also set a PR on every lift that I did today. But like a total idiot, you should sample these things in a safe setting. But Tony and I were going to go to this New Year's Eve party, and at New Year's Eve, New Year's is late, midnight's late. I mean, at the time it felt late because the way my life was structured is I was getting up super early. So I was like, this will be perfect. Take this, be wired all night. Well, do you remember Tony sweating through his clothes the whole night?
Yep.
Oh my God! Just
walked out of the bathroom just like white and drenched, and I'm just like, are you okay? My like face is wet, there's sweat everywhere. I'm like, what did you guys do?
Yeah, I mean, it worked. I
feel like I just feel like I'm getting this glimpse of like you guys and your friends, and like Justin and some of the other guys just being kind of like a little renegade, and Joe being like the responsible one. About just feel like, guys, really? Were you the one that drove people home, basically, Joe?
Sometimes it was just how do I put it? Just like luck of the draw. Like I just wasn't there when the stupid thing was done. I was there at the tail end of it. So
Joe was hosting the party, so he was doing adult thing. You gotta remember, we were kids. We were like, this is like 15, 20 years ago. I mean, I was probably like 24 maybe at the time, but Joe was 21 or something. I mean, we were. Like we felt like adults. I mean, I had already been married. I probably already had a kid at that time, maybe even, or Joy might have been pregnant. I don't remember. But I see kids now like at 21, and I realize like they're children. We felt like we were adults, but we were just children. We did stupid children things like take hydromethamphetamine on New Year's Eve. But
were you doing the acid extraction yourself, like at the house?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been that hard to have been off by like an order of magnitude on your dosing.
No, it would because I was extracting it from a pharmaceutical product. I was using I shouldn't be talking about this. It's probably illegal. I'd probably go to jail. What was the old days when you used to say in the forums, like swim, someone I met or something like that? Someone I know, because that has to be dosed appropriately, and so there's a dose per there's a cotton inside the ingredient.
So it was already like in like grade A, like you had tablets to begin with or something?
No, they weren't tablets. It was these inhalers. It's like a tube you stick up your nose and you breathe it in, and it's like lavender, and it's got this. Well, there's a cotton in there, and so like lavender won't be extracted with acid, so lavender will separate and it won't dehydrate at the same rate. So you can cut the cotton up or shred the cotton up and squeeze it all out because you want it like removed from the cotton. Then you put the whole thing into some acid solution, and it'll extract. And typically the lavender is actually a separate part of the cotton, so you can kind of cut that completely out and basically get the portion of the cotton that just has the good ingredients, and then it'll extract out. You can squeeze out the cotton again after it's been fully extracted, and then you just like let it simmer over a very low heat, and it'll dry out, and it'll eventually be left with crystals. Those are the salts, or the amphetamine salts. And then you can put that into a gel capsule with the phenylparasite. Man, I mean, all these things are these
Theoretically, you could do all this.
Well, all these things were legal at the time. They're all very illegal now. You can't even find phenylparacetam anywhere now.
Now could you sell it to people for use with their lab rats now?
You can't sell it for human consumption. You could, yes, sell it for research purposes. You could. It's but it was. I mean, it would have been the most amazing pre-workout ever created because it was. I mean, if you needed a pre-workout to wake you up, I mean, it shot you out of a rocket. That was for sure. I'm sure it wasn't good for blood pressure, but it was potent.
If we get a bigger audience of powerlifters and not just bodybuilders, are people really going to be onto something here?
Oh yeah, no, it would from powerlifter meat. Yeah, I think that might have been why I gave Dave samples, was to give powerlifters a try. This is like 2006 or 7. This is a long time ago.
I'm imagining you could sell it. You could put this in a little Pop Rocks packet and.
Yeah. I'm sure this is better than bath salts. I mean, this is.
Yeah, we are, like you said, we're running a little low on bandwidth, so
We'll put on pause for a moment. If you want to
wrap it up, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll wrap it up. Thanks again, guys, for listening again. If you are interested in any of the First Attachment Nutrition products, they're ones that Dave and I both use and actually stand behind, which for me is the first. I don't know about you, Dave. You can find the information at firstattachmentnutrition.com. There are also a plethora of videos about the formulations and why the products are designed as they are, what they're intended to do, and Justin's breaking it down on a whiteboard, so if you enjoy learning, give it a listen.
You can find those on this YouTube channel, actually.
Yeah. I'm really, really excited to see where Joe and Justin take this, and if you guys have any questions or if you are interested in selling the products at your facility, you can reach Joe at firstattachmentnutrition.com, I believe, yes?
joe.miller@firstattachment.com.
Yep, or through the website. No, appreciate having us on. Looking forward to creating some good content, getting some educational resources out there for everybody. So
yeah, and then after you like and subscribe and click notifications on and all that other stuff, remember to go to teamtroponin.com and become a member for even more in-depth discussions like this.
Thanks, guys.
For more content like this, visit www.teamtroponin.com.
This video is brought to you by First Attachment Nutrition, battle-tested nutrition, expert formulated supplements. Join the First Attachment revolution.